Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing a review of a horror film from the United States, English language, released in the year 2010, directed by Stephen Mina, and this film is called Bereavement. The story to Bereavement is as follows. In 1989, 6-year-old Martin Bristol was abducted from his backyard in Pennsylvania. For 5 years, his whereabouts remained a mystery until teenager Alison Miller moves to town to live with her Uncle Jonathan. While exploring her new surroundings, she discovers that Graham Sutter, a psychotic recluse, is keeping Martin imprisoned on his derelict pig farm, forcing him to witness unspeakable horrors. Her curiosity reveals a hornet's nest of evil that, once opened, can never be closed. So the movie starts off with young Martin Bristol. He is a 6-year-old kid. He is playing at the front of his house, and he is abducted by Graham Sutter. Now, Graham Sutter is a serial killer who lives in a derelict pig farm. So he takes Martin and he forces him to witness unspeakable acts of violence. So each time Graham Sutter dispatches a victim, this young kid is forced to watch. Now, this young kid is very unique. He can't feel pain. And this is what gave Graham Sutter the curiosity. And this is what made him abduct this kid, because he feels that they're very similar. So 5 years pass and the whereabouts of this kid is still unknown. And this is where Alison comes into the picture. Now, Alison is a young woman who lost both of her parents in a car accident, and she has come to town to live with her uncle. Now, her uncle is very protective, so she can't really do much with a lot of freedom. But one day she goes exploring her surroundings, and she comes across this derelict pig farm, and she sees the kid. She sees Martin in a derelict, sort of smashed up window. So she's very curious as to what is going on inside this abandoned pig farm, and what she finds is a pathway to hell. And basically, her life is going to go from bad to worse extremely quickly. So that's all I'm going to give you on the synopsis. If you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now, my thoughts on Bereavement. Unfortunately, the words that came to my mind when I was watching this is, I don't care. Basically, I don't care about the things that are happening on the screen because they're not in depth. Nothing is ever gone into enough. It's all skimming the surface, and you think to yourself at the end, well, that wasn't the worst film I've seen, but it's a movie that I'm going to forget very, very quickly. Now, to start off with, it does have a real message of you become the person you are from the way that you're raised. Basically, that the kid is a mirror image of you as a parent. And so that was really interesting to see this kid being taken by this serial killer, and you kind of think to yourself, well, this kid is going to grow up in this nature, and that he's going to become just what his role model was. So that was really interesting, but unfortunately it just doesn't work because there is not enough in it. It feels like it's just skimming the surface. Now, there's another part of the film. There's a side story of Alison, the main character, and her family dynamics, her new family, because she just lost her parents, so she's coming into this family with her uncle and her uncle's wife and their kid. And you feel to yourself that, yeah, on one hand you've got a family dynamic film, and on the other hand you've got a serial killer film. So basically you get this very uninteresting take on a family, then all of a sudden it cuts to the serial killer, there's a little bit of torture, and then it cuts back to the family, then it cuts back to the serial killer, cuts back to the family, then right at the end it has basically just one solid story. So I actually thought the ending was very, very good. Really shocking and very, very unpredictable. I wasn't expecting it to go down that path, and it all made sense in the end. But unfortunately, getting to the end, it was just, as I said, it's not a chore to watch. It's not a boring film, but I just didn't care about anything. I just, not enough attention to detail in the characters. I thought the serial killer was very interesting, but there wasn't enough on him. Now, you get an insight into his life, which is really morbid, obviously, but there's just not enough depth to the characters to really care about them. And if you don't care about them, then the movie just goes along with, and it feels like it doesn't really have a purpose. If you want to watch a film that is very similar to this, but gets the message across in a lot better way, I would suggest you check out Jennifer Chamberlain's movie Chained. I thought that was fantastic, but this film, it just fails to capture you into the story. So although you see these bad things happening, it doesn't hit you with any emotional depth. And that is my biggest criticism of the film, and that's why I felt that the film doesn't really work. Now, having said that, as I said, the ending is absolutely fantastic. I love the way it finished, but once again, I thought it would have been a lot stronger, the finish, if you could actually care about these characters and get sucked into the story. But because there's not enough attention put into the story of this serial killer, the serial killer and the relationship with this boy that he's just abducted is the best part of the film, the most interesting part. But then it cuts through to the family, and I can understand that on one side you've got the family, the environment in the family, and her growing up to be just like her uncle. And then on the other hand, you've got the serial killer, who the little boy is growing up to be like the serial killer. But both stories don't work together. It would have been better just having another movie for the family dynamics and another movie for the serial killer, because this is supposed to be a horror film. But unfortunately, the horror aspect of it isn't enough. It has not gone into enough, and I felt that all the family dynamic scenes would have been a lot better if they were just put onto this relationship between the serial killer and his protege, if you want to call him that. So I just thought attention to detail wasn't put onto the right thing, and unfortunately, because they have two sort of side stories in the film, it doesn't blend together very well. And when it hits you with the end, yes, it is quite shocking, but it would have been a hell of a lot more shocking if you could actually care about the characters. So unfortunately, I just didn't care about the film. It's a movie that I felt, you could probably pass up on. It's not terrible. I'm glad I got it. I only got it cheap. It's not worth an expensive buy, but just that depth was lacking to create a truly memorable experience. So overall, for Bereavement, I'm only going to give it 2 stars, and unfortunately, this one is not going to come recommended. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.